At that time, our population was 17 million. Well, now we have 100. And in 17 million, 1 million died. In World War II, out of 17 million, 1 million died, Filipinos. And out of that number, half a million served during the war. There were those unrecognized guerrillas. Many were unrecognized. The Americans only chose those who had arms. Our bolomen, spearmen, our quartermaster, yung mga natin, yung different guerrillas who served but were not armed, were not recognized by the Americans. So, yung mga tigalaba, dagiti tagalaba kayo iti bado ti guerrilla, handa nga rin-recognize. Dagiti doctors and nurses were not recognized. Only those who had firearms. And that account to about 200 plus thousand. And the rest were recognized by the Philippine government. These were the ones, yung mga WAS, Women Auxiliary Service, mga babae. They were the ones treating the Filipino guerrillas and also the civilians. Isudat yung luto, naglablaba. They also went to the extent of crawling to the foxhole just to deliver the food for the guerrillas fighting. And they were not recognized by the Americans. And this time, they perhaps would like to compensate by giving this award. This year, I hope that it would resume again. We just came from Cebu to honor the veterans in Cebu. In this awarding, we hope that the U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, Ambassador Mary Kay Carlson, and Secretary of National Defense, Attorney Gilberto Chodoro will be coming over. It is always the ambassador who hands the award to the veteran or descendant. Because it is a U.S. government, it is a U.S. award, assisted by the Secretary of National Defense. And I still cannot reveal the name of an important personality because we still have to confirm his attendance. We might make the announcement at the proper time. But he's one of the stalwarts of Filipino-American veterans based in the US. He was one of those who worked for this award to be passed by the US Congress. So this award is really intended for our Filipino veterans. Now that it's Victory Day, this is Bataan and Corregidor in reverse. In reverse, I said in reverse because at the outbreak of the war, one of the first bombs were dropped here in Baguio. And it is in Baguio where the instrument of surrender was signed. So Baguio has a very important place in World War II. For our veterans to be honored in this place, I am glad that we will be having it during this time because yun nga, I emphasize that this is Bataan and Corregidor in reverse because when the Japanese invaded, there were about 50,000 Japanese, but well-trained and seasoned fighters who invaded the Philippines. Our raw recruits from the Philippine Army at that time numbered to about 70,000 and about 12,000 Americans. There were 80,000 who defended Bataan and about 15,000 in Corridor. That's the total number. And the Japanese had 50,000. But sometime in February of 1942, many of the Japanese units were decimated. So there was a lull from last week of February up to the first week of April. They have to wait for reinforcement coming from mainland China, and mostly from Manchuria, to reinforce the Japanese forces here until the fighting was over by April 9. Now, when the war was already, when the tide of the war was turning against the Japanese, they brought in General Yamashita, the so-called Tiger of Malaya. It took only about less than a month for him to conquer Malaya with 100,000 British Commonwealth troops surrendering. For us, it took, General Homa was given 55 days to conquer the Philippines. The Filipino and American defenders took 120 days. So, Homa was retired in, he was, I think, retired out of embarrassment. So he was not given any position after the Philippines. He just stayed in Japan. And when Yamashita came, October 1 of 1944, the landing in Leyte happened 20 days after. So do not believe yung Yamashita treasure. 20 days lang siya sa Philippines, paano nagkaroon mo. So, there were 70,000 Japanese who retreated to northern Luzon. There were 25,000 USA 5th NL guerrillas. And I called it Bataan and Corregidor in reverse because there were 70,000 Japanese, outnumbered nila yung Filipino na saka-saka and only lightly armed, and yet they were able to defeat the Japanese. And all the Americans did was to dress the Filipino guerrillas in American Army uniform, take photographs with their backs. So, no makita makita yung dagiti pictures nakatalikod amin dagiti soldado, you will always think that they are Americans, but no, they are Filipinos. The Americans were at the back. So, 25,000 defeated a strength of 70,000. And after the informal surrender of General Yamashita in Kiangan, they took him to brought him eventually to Baguio by jeep. It's a convoy of jeeps passing through Nagilian Road. And this is a very significant for us because Janhe is a place which was, I think, Sakura KAI. They renamed it to a Japanese name. The campus name, I think Sakura. I forgot, sorry. But that is what I can remember. It took, but I have seen photographs of Japanese walking all the way from Kiangan to Baguio. This is where they were assembled from Baguio. Kaya han nga ibagbaga dati ti Amerikano nga nag-death march matbagay hapon. They passed through Kayapa, Simang at dito yung Ambuklaw. The people around along the way were stoning the Japanese. Yeah, it was a nightmare for the American MPs to stop Filipinos from retaliating because they found the difficult moments during the Japanese occupation. So, I am not a history major, but I'm just a...
You are now, sir.
I'm just a...
But you know a lot, sir.
I'm just a...